getting wrinkly and our hair's grey, a rusty old banger in the driveway. One of us will maybe wear a toupee, but I will be in love with you.
Let's do the last part one more time.
You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, when we're getting wrinkly and our hair's grey, a rusty old banger in the driveway, one of us will maybe wear a toupee, but I will be in love with you.
All right. Welcome, amazing impact makers. You're already here, and I believe more people will join in a bit. But we're going to start because you are here on time. Let's go. Today, we're going to talk about something really, really fun. We're going to do a lot of work together. But before we do that, I would love to hear some breakthroughs, some aha moments, and some wins. Who has something to share around speaking and stages? Carolyn.
It only took me a week to get my video sent to Luke, and probably about 25 different attempts. But hey, I think I finally got it done. So, it used to get so frustrating. And then when you get it done, it's like, oh yeah. But it only took 25 attempts. I mean, you just got to keep plowing through it. It just, this morning I was laughing to myself. I went, it's like this with everything. It's just the same. It's the same process, it's the same lesson. Just keep plugging through it. That's what I learned again for the umpteenth time.
Yes. And some of you if I'm not mistaken, in 2 weeks from now, you're going to share your keynote, right? So that means, Carolyn, you have your one-on-one prep session. And in order for you to optimize that, you always want to send a video, even that is, Lori, I don't know, but if I would know, this would be it. And then you start sharing, right? So that's a beautiful win. Well done, Carolyn. Anyone else? A win? Something we can celebrate with you this week. Naomi.
Well, I just got back from the Edge Mastermind in Utah, and it was absolutely life-changing. Man, I slept for like 24 hours when I got back because the entire time I was just soaking up every ounce of energy, every ounce of beauty and information that I could. And I put myself out there, really stretched myself when I was there. Um, I got called up to be on a panel, which was very surprising because Debbie walked up to me and she whispered in my ear, she's like, I'm going to call you up for this panel, which was in like a few seconds from the moment she told me. And I honestly thought I was going to feel scared or nervous, but I didn't. I felt very grounded, and it helped that Lori was sitting in the audience. You're looking at my public speaking coach in the audience. I felt really empowered, but also, I started getting in my head and I decided, you know what, Naomi, you don't need to be afraid. This is why you put yourself in this room. This is an opportunity for you to really show your heart and show up for the people in this room who are showing up for you, because it was such an honor for Debbie to pick me out of everyone else in the audience to be a part of the panel that she was hosting. So that was really empowering, and I just felt really myself. I felt like I could really show up. I can speak from my heart, and I did. I felt fully in my body and not in my head where I usually am. So that's a win for me. And I also did a hot seat with Dean. I honestly had no idea what I was going to do for this hot seat. I just knew that I wanted to stretch myself and put myself out there. And one of the things that they always say, proximity is power, right? Like Tony Robbins talks about proximity is power. Dean talks about proximity is power. And I worked so hard to put myself in that room. So I said, you know what? It doesn't matter if I don't have all the answers of where I'm going with my business, pivoting my business right now. The point is that I'm in this room, and this is the room where it happens. This is the room where people make impact and they change lives. So this, I'm just going to put myself out there, and I really thought about what I needed to ask Dean, and it was so powerful. It was so transformative for me, and I know exactly what I need to do now. So that's what happens when you really go all in with your dreams. And yeah, I feel really excited for the next steps, and really excited to be giving my keynote in a couple of weeks. I'm not still not sure what I'm going to be talking about, but I'm excited about it.
Yes, let's go. What I'm hearing, Naomi, is I did not prepare, but when someone called me up a couple of minutes before I had the opportunity to speak, I decided that I'm ready, right? And sometimes it's just what we need to do. And I hear you say as well, I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about in 2 weeks. For everybody who's up very soon, who can empathize with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I prepared, but you know what? I don't exactly know what I'll speak about. And what if that's not the goal as anyways, right? What if on some point you make a decision and we were able to meet each other in person, which was really fun, right? So making a decision in that moment, doing it in that moment, and then the next one will be a little different. And that's how we optimize and really become a lot better. Well done. Beautiful win. Last win, Patrice. What can we celebrate with you this week?
All right, good morning. Yeah, I I will celebrate my health. I told you way back when we met in Utrecht, I have been dealing with a health condition for more than a year now, and no doctor knows what is going on with me. Literally, I've met with more than 5 different doctors, and they did extensive search, and they can't figure it out. So it's very hard. Um, but you know what? I'm on the better side of the ground. So I appreciate that all the time. This time last year, probably I think I was in the hospital. This time I'm at home, trying to do my work day to day, but it's very hard. It's very hard to get up in the morning. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that, man.
of course.
Thank you, man, and yet showing up. And I hope all of you feel that by now. With you, Patrice, and yesterday for everybody who was there already watched the replay, Donna's story, who lost her child. That all these moments in life, like, what if those become now stories in your story library? Whatever you're dealing with right now, Patrice, what if that is, when shared, not something that you went through, but something you went through and now helps other people with where they are going through? And maybe right now, sometimes we share a story from our place of messy middle, and you still don't know exactly what it is and still not yet completely recovered. And what if that is okay? What if you, where you are right now, with what you're going through right now, that when told, other people can already learn something from that? So you showing up authentically as you are right now, it's a beautiful win. Thank you, ma'am, for speaking up.
Of course. That I appreciate that. Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard. Yeah. And I'm like a fireball like you, and I look at your energy and I think of me when I'm not sick, right? And it's just so hard every morning to get up. And yeah. But I'll get there. Thank you guys. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Well, and whatever you need, like, we're here for you, right? So also in the WhatsApp group or in between, like, who sometimes not like maybe physically sick, but sometimes feels like the heaviness of getting up, or the heaviness of leaning into this journey, of the heaviness of like, oh, my story library, oh, Notion, right? Everybody feels like that some way. So when you're willing to open up and speak about it, like, other people will resonate and some place of themselves will unlock. Little story of last week, because as some of you I was able to meet in person, and it's because we're part of a similar mastermind that happens in the US. And part of this mastermind was just not just learning, but also integrating with some somatic work. And one morning, we were doing a sound bath. Who's ever done that before? Where you have like a lot of sounds, and those sounds create vibrations, and there's vibration radiated with stuff that happens in the body, and through all of that you can create flow of energy. Some people call it healing, right? It's really powerful. And I think this was like 30 minutes where we were all lying on the floor, eyes closed, and there was these two guys who were just like boom, 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 dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, 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 like all different sounds, and we were all able to experience it. And at the end of the 30 minutes, he asked a question that you will also get in this class and in the Monday class and in other Zoom rooms, in other conferences, in other places you're in. And there was, who would love to share your experience? And what happened was really, really powerful. Like the first person who raised his or her hand was like, oh my God, like I felt like I was floating and I saw colors and it was like very, very like big and crazy. Then like the second or the third person said, wow, I had this intention of healing a swelling in my ankle and it's just completely gone. And then the next person was like, I just had this vision. I think I was talking to God. And somehow the shares like increased. Like the bigness of those shares, just it was just like wow. And then at some point there was one woman who raised her hand and said, you know what? For me it was not this magical at all, actually. Like I just started to get in my head. I started racing, I had a lot of ideas, and I was saying to myself, don't think too much, don't think too much, just relax, just relax. This is about absorbing it, this is about letting it go. But somehow it was really challenging for me right now, but I really like the experience. Now, my question to all of you, what happened right after she shared that? Please put it in the chat. What do you think what happened right after she shared that? Adrian, 10 points for you. Others shared the same thing. What happened is that a lot of people had magical experiences. And because the first person was sharing from a magical place, like it almost seemed like there was like a competition. Like people had more crazy experiences. But then let's just say that 70% of the room did not have that. So what happened is that the 30% of the room was sharing and sharing and sharing until everybody felt uncomfortable. We're like, we cannot tip on this. But then there was one person brave enough to share, you know what? For me, it was like this. And what happened right after? 5 hands went in the air. And people felt the space that they share was also good enough. So when we share at the end, like who are we grateful for? You don't know what your impact is on other people. And that maybe sharing something that's really authentic and real and not perfect or better or whatever rules we have of someone else. When we're just willing to share, we may actually help other people open up. And maybe the last person who opened up really, really felt uncomfortable. But because there was one person who was willing to share, you know what, for me, just it was a little different. It gave the space for other people to share too. And is it that what we're really doing as transformational speakers? Is that we're creating an emotional runway for other people that they can feel that when we share stories, we create pictures for other people to connect with, memories for themselves. And that when we connect an action step at the end, they're able to implement, take action, so they are able to continue their journey, right? So before we're going to watch a video together and really are going to analyze this all, who here created a lot of stories for your story library based on last week? With a raise of hands. I would love to hear an insight of creating that story library that might help other people to keep going. Adrian, would you mind sharing that for you?
Yeah, I mean, what I've been doing, and I think maybe it came up last week, but is just as they come to mind to write them down. So, there's a lot of things that I think like, oh wow, I haven't thought about that for a long time, and I'm still not at the point where I'm like they're still just kind of headlines. Like I feel like I haven't distilled them to like the teaching moments yet, but I'm just kind of dumping them as they come in mind. And even as you're telling that sound bath story, I was like, oh wait, I also have a sound bath story, you know? So there's some things, but I'm just being a lot more cognizant, like when they come up and then just putting them down, and we'll eventually take the time to go through them and get those learning points.
Yeah. Isn't that fun, right? When we hear stories, we're able to recognize stories within our thing and now connect it to an action step, which in this case is a question, we're able to take action on it, right? The sound bath story, how many minutes before our class started did I come up by sharing that? What do you think, Adrian? I see Luke thinking too. What do you think?
I'd say less than 10.
I would say, well, we already started. Right? So in some point, you're just able to go back into your week where I was feeling like, okay, because someone shared something, I'm like, okay, I want to go into that right now. This is something that happened last week. So because we're practicing the skill, we're able to recognize a story, we're able to go back to the story, we're able to utilize it and tell it in a specific way so it's useful for us right now. And by you focusing on figuring out what stories are, journaling them down. Again, the story library is not to get on our one-on-one and say, "Oh, Lori, look at mine. Don't you think it's so beautiful?" I don't care how beautiful it looks. I want it to be useful for you, right? I want it to be useful for you. So if you want, at some point, you have 100 ideas, and then you block 2 hours and you create all your teaching points, because again, it will help you. Remember, it's not mandatory because it's a task that you need to check off. We don't do tasks. We do intentional actions, right? Beautiful. Last one, Carolyn. You're on mute, Carolyn.
There. Thank you. What I did is I created a movie of my life in my head. And I started going through the thank you, Marty, that's so cute. I started going like, okay, I was here, my dad was in Korea. What happened? What do you remember? And then I I spent some time with that until I kind of then I went to the next chapter, and then I moved a lot in my life. So I kind of basically, it was the moves, Germany, Japan, blah, blah, blah. And so I just went through the movie of my life. And as I went through, and I'm in junior high, and I have this many. You forget, but I did the movie in my head, helped a lot to remember instead of sporadically waiting for something to pop in. I made it intentional.
Yeah, so good. So good. We practiced with different prompts last week, right? I said pasta or pizza, and then you started to think of
Right.
all the. What you're now doing is you give yourself the prompt of the timeline, right? Which you can all do. It doesn't mean that in your keynote you have to include all these different parts of your timeline of your life, but it will help you to come up with stories that you may have forgotten, right? So beautiful. Absolutely amazing, Carolyn. And what we're going to do now is, now you all start to be more aware of what stories are or what situations you can go through. What we want to do, and for the people who are very close to their keynote, right? This is a moment where you're able to iterate and fine line and really create that idea of the whole scope of the whole journey. And for people who are starting, like what this is about is you seeing how the stories now come together into one amazing talk. And the talk that I chose for us to watch is a talk that someone created in this speaking academy that literally 3 days ago stood on the TEDx stage. Now, when the TEDx gets online, you're able to see it. I'll probably do a review or something, so I'm showing you in real life, like how we made decisions, how she created it. But I also want you to see this version. This was an absolute amazing version. I can tell you that the TEDx is 100,000% better. But in this moment where you're gonna watch now, that was her like 8 week like download, right? This was the best that she created in that moment. So what we will do is, for everybody who has it very easy to find on your computer, is to open your speaking blueprint, right? The Google Docs that you went through with Luke in the beginning, and that download space where you can download your ideas on, this is my now and my new, these are my teaching points, these are my stories, this is my transition, this is my beginning and end, right? That downloadable folder that you have, so you can immediately get your ideas into your own space. Because the better and the more you make that document or a working sheet instead of like this perfect outline, the better all these classes will land. Okay, can I get 2 thumbs up if you got your doc open? Adrian, beautiful. Everybody else is still looking for it. Just make sure that you have it open. And this is a document that's really nice to have opened in the beginning of class. If you cannot find it, you can personal message Luke right now and he will help you and he will send you the link. Just make sure that you bookmark the link for yourself so it's very easy to find. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch Patrice.
The now and the new. I had a question on that. What is that supposed to record, please?
Yeah, so the now and the new is part of lens number 1, where you're creating a very clear goal of your speaking engagement. And what you want to have vivid for yourself is, where are people now and where are they going? So if you share about emotional freedom or financial freedom and you start with that, but the people in your audience aren't yet, they won't resonate with you. So when you start with a story where you did not have financial freedom and you say, this is where I was, and then this is where I'm now, you're able to bring them from where they are to where you want to bring them towards. Does that make sense? So it's not like this filling in document, like you need to perfectly have that. It's more like a help, a guide, a tool for you to download, like what are beliefs, what are thoughts, what are actions that they go through. All right, so what we will do is we're going to watch this video and we're going to create different teams. Some teams will focus on step number 1. What is a clear aim and what are the teaching moments? Team 2 will focus on what are specific stories. If we would open up this person's story library, then what titles would you recognize? So you're practicing the recognition of stories. Number 2. Number 3, how does she glue it all together? So what is the beginning, what is the end, and what are transition points? Those are the 3 lenses we're going to use today. And you can pick the one that you would love to focus on. Right? The one to focus on is the area where you want to grow into for your next biggest step. Make sense? Perfect. So team number 1 focuses on step number 1, the aim. And let me share one blueprint with you so you have it visual as well. Here we go. So team number 1 would focus on define the transformation. You want to focus on what is their aim? What is the focus of their talk? What is their now and what is their new? And what are the 3 teaching points? So basically, when you're listening to someone else and you're focusing on this first step, you can also think of, what will that be like for me? So team 1 will focus on number 1. Team 2 would focus on pick your stories. If you have to fill in the titles and figure out if they're credible, if they're community, or if they're coolness, which can be multiple per story, this is what you're going to focus on. Not just for this talk, but you're going to train that muscle so you can do it better for yourself. And team number 3 will focus on the glue. How does this person glue the talk together? In other words, what is their opening like? What is their close like? And how do they transition from one point to another? All right? Can I get 2 thumbs up if the exercise is completely clear from everybody? I see a lot of focused faces. Naomi is clear.
Sorry, I'm trying to find my doc.
I got it. So when you cannot find it,
I
just
can't find it either. Sorry.
DM Luke, and then he will send you the correct link. All right?
Thank
Make sure you bookmark that document because that's going to be really, really nice to have. But can I get a thumbs up if the exercise is completely clear besides having the document right in front of you? Can I get 2 thumbs up from everybody because we're going to focus on this for the next hour and it's really nice to have clarity on that. Naomi, clear? I will repeat it one more time. So everybody please pay attention, not finding the document. Ask Luke to help and he will send you the link and listen to the exercise. All right. So we're going to watch a full video of someone who created their graduation of the academy. This is the exact recording of that. You are going to look from one of these 3 lenses. The outcome that we're looking for is not that you're just analyzing this perfect person really well and that you're understanding and practicing the skill, but the outcome is also that you're able to do this now for yourself. So that one of these 3 lenses that you're going to focus on will be the next focus for yourself as well. So you can pick either one of these 3, which you feel this is my next level of growth. So if you're just starting out, it might be lens number 1, so you have a very clear foundation. When you're very close to your speaking engagement, it might be number 2, where you're focusing on the stories, or number 3, where you're going to glue it all together, right? One more time where I'm going to share the document, and please pay attention to the screen and focus on this document because this is your document. You all have your own, where in lens number 1, you're creating the foundation where you're focusing on the aim of your talk, the now and the new, and the 3 teaching points. Number 2, where you focus on the stories and the 3 C's of the stories. And the glue it all together will be the opening, the close, and the connection points. So in this document that you will open, you can draw down the notes so you can immediately implement this for yourself. Thumbs up if this now completely makes sense for you. Beautiful. So we're going to divide this group in 3 different teams. Team number 1 will focus on step number 1, which will be the aim. Who here feels like the aim is my next level? Naomi, Adrian, Mari, and Carolyn. You 4 will be team number 1. Focus on the aim. Team number 2 will focus on the stories. What story does she pick and what different C does she get it from? Who here would love to focus on team number 2? Raise of hands. Patrice and Debbie. Beautiful. Then team number 3, the transitions and the glue, will be Nilsa and Charlene, and I'm not sure if you can completely interact today, so I will pay attention on this as well, so you also understand how that really works. All right? So I'm going to play that video. We're going to watch it together. And then at some point, I'm going to pause it and we're together going to analyze this through these different lenses, right? So when you're team number 1, just focus on that, okay? Don't focus on the stories. Don't focus on the glue. Focus on one thing so that you're able to do this for yourself as well. When you're team number 2, focus on the stories. What kind of stories do you hear? What would the title in their story library be? What different C's is this story connected to? And then in the last one, that's going to be the funky one, might be the most difficult one, so I'm in your team as well. We're going to focus on those transition moments. Any questions before we start, Naomi?
I know you mentioned it earlier, and forgive me, I was not paying attention. The now and the new.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really understand that.
Sure. Patrice, you asked the question. Is it completely clear for you right now?
Yes, the now and the new, if I understood the answer correctly. The now is when you're gonna give a keynote or the keynote you're preparing for. The now it's how people the state of mind of those people about the story you're about to share. The new is what transformation are they going, it's gonna be in their mind once the story has happened. So I did not know anything about financial freedom. That's a now. Then I gave a speech about financial freedom. The new person now feel empowered to go about financial freedom, or they have the knowledge or they have the urge to seek to become financially free. Did I get it right, teacher?
Yes, you did. And
Right.
the outcome that we have with this is also to kind of like brain dump and journal about all the thoughts that people have in the now. So, for example, if Patrice is sharing a story and then he says something like this, now you might think, how is this possible? Because I just have, I go from paycheck to paycheck. I don't even know what jobs I can actually do that will help me earn more money that I'm earning now. And three, da 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 da. So because he brain dumped everything that people believe, live by, see in the now, he's able to point out those thoughts so that the people in their audience are thinking, oh, you're talking to me. Right? So an example of what I do myself is when I talk about speaking, I'm very stoked to share the strategies. But then I need to talk about one thing first. And that is the number one, still is the number one fear of public speaking, still is the number one fear of humankind. Like maybe some of you are in this group and feel like, okay, I lean in this next level. And now Lori is talking about team 1, team 2, team 3. Oh my God, like there's people in this group who are already far more advanced than me. Maybe I'm not ready yet. And then I need to keep reassuring you, you are, right? So maybe you're thinking, I don't exactly know what this is going to be like. Or that's why we started with this today's class. Like, who here is almost going on their gig and they're still thinking, what am I going to talk about? If that's you, just know that you're in the right place because everybody goes through this, right? If I forget that or skip that, I'll get more calls from all of you saying, I'm not ready. And I'm like, well, everybody's going through. So if I don't say that out loud, I'm skipping. If I'm just going into the strategies, you might not completely absorb. If I do this here and I'm actually right here in Amsterdam, I will do a keynote like an hour after this class and it will be about strategies. But if I don't mention the fear of public speaking first and I get in their head and I say, well, there's a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being super, super excited, 1 being, well, never, ever, ever. Like, where are you now on the journey? I'm going to share an example of someone who felt like a 2. And then I'm sharing the journey. So now I'm saying, hey, if you don't feel ready yet, these strategies are still for you. But that was only because I am connecting with what they are feeling now. So it's, again, not so much of like a filling in document where I'm going to check it and like, oh, there were only 19 and it should have been 20 things. It's more you connecting with your audience. Like, where are they truly now? What thoughts do they think? What situation do they go through? What pain do they feel? What do they see around them? And then writing down what's the new. Okay, but how cool would it be if you actually stand on stage? Because this guy who started as a 2 still created this. He still went on a TEDx stage. But this is how he feels. And I'm going to show you an awkward video when he started. So I want you to see if you feel like this is still possible. And the timeline was 4 months. And these are the strategies. Who's excited to learn the strategies now? Okay, everybody. Because now everybody knows I can do this. Instead of, okay, let me share the strategies of something you fear a lot and you don't feel ready. It's like nobody's going to really listen, right? So we want to connect with where they are first, and that's what the now represents. The new represents this super cool new scenario that they might not even know that exists or is too far to actually obtain because they don't feel is possible for them. And that's why there's two gaps and that, or 2 spaces, and that's why we want to be very clear on what it is right now. Make sense? Who is happy Naomi asked? Right? The power of questions. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share this video that's actually in the back seat of your course. So instead of like going in my backend, I went in your backend, so you see that you always have access to these things. So when I share my screen, and I would actually go back because this is the one we're going to start, what I did is I went into the course to the 3rd chapter, and then I chose the first video that's here. But just for you to know, in this chapter there's a lot of examples, and there will be more and more in the future, because all the previous Speaking Academy graduations will be uploaded here if they've agreed to that. So there will be more because way more people went through this. And now we're going to watch this one together. We're going to analyze it together. So that way you also know you have more inspiration if you want to. All right? And you're also going to see me introduce, so you really have a visual on what it's going to look like for you. So we're going to watch small steps, and we're going to pause it. We're going to analyze it together so that you have a next step for yourself. Ready? Ready, Freddy? All right, let's go. Speaker. Just bring me on the stage, girl. I'm ready. I'm ready to break free. I'm ready to make it happen right here, right now. So without further ado, shall we just dive in right here, right now? I am so excited. I feel blessed and honored to introduce the first speaker of today. She's going to talk about how you can break free and make it happen. The woman that I'm going to bring on the stage is a woman who's not only talking about this message, but she is this message. And you will feel that through her story, through her heart. So without further ado, Kristin, welcome to the stage. You're going to talk about how to make it happen, how to break free. The stage is yours, my friend. Let's go.
You know, Lori, isn't it interesting how we have together come full circle? Because when I met you, I was hiding in the shadows behind stage. But as of last month, you witnessed me breaking free and stepping onto that stage in Atlanta in my red dress, and we made it happen. You know, I had this epiphany. It reminds me of a story of a few years ago. Let's just leave it there. When I was a celebrity personal trainer in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California, right? A-list celebrities that the list would just blow your mind. But every single day, I had to wake up at 3:45 in the morning just to get on the 405 freeway at 4:30 in the morning before it turned into the 405 parking lot, which looked like a sea of, red lights that belonged at Christmas versus on a freeway, just to get to my first client at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, ready to count that first repetition. And then from that moment on, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I would train back to back to back, 16 clients in a row, helping them transform their lives, helping them lose 1 pound at a time, brutally through every single 30-minute workout that I took them through. And this moment reminds me of the time that I stepped foot into Gold's Gym in Venice, California. If you know Gold's Gym, Venice, California, this is the mecca of bodybuilding and fitness. This is where all the fitness gals and fitness guys go to get in their best shape ever, to transform their bodies. And one day when I was in there, this kind of rough but kind gentleman approached me and said, "You know what? Have you ever thought about getting paid to lift weights?" And I thought to myself, well, shoot, I'm a broke college student. I know I'm pretty strong. I didn't know how strong I was, but this sounds great to make money doing what I'm already doing. This sounded like an amazing opportunity. So I said, yes, let's go for it. I proceeded to lift 165 pounds over my head the first day off the rack, and the whole entire gym stopped and was in shock, as was I. Then it was very interesting. My strength coach explained to me the difference between strength training and powerlifting. You see, strength training is more about this overall fitness aspect, right? It's this overall general fitness that you want to maintain in your body. Whereas powerlifting, powerlifting is actually reaching your 1 rep maximum. What is the maximum potential that you can do in one ginormous lift? So we proceeded to train for the next 6 months. 6 months just to get that 1 repetition with the maximum powerlifting weight that I could lift over my head. 6 months later, I increased my power by 15 pounds overhead. At which point he said to me, you know what? This is remarkable. I think I have a client for you. He just went through knee surgery. He needs someone to help him break through the scar tissue and break through all of the things that occurred through surgery. And I think you'd be the perfect person. Let me introduce you to him. His name was Bob. Bob was that little angel that came into my life before I knew he was the angel. I helped him rehabilitate his knee. And because I helped him and I showed up for him when he needed it, he offered me the opportunity to move to New York City. Now, this was a major decision. I had celebrity clientele in Los Angeles. I'd built 15 years. So to take the chance, to take the leap for a new opportunity, what did I have to lose?
Woohoo! Cliffhanger. Okay, take some seconds to write down what you were writing down. I see a lot of people writing down, so take some time. And then let's analyze it together. From the people who were part of team number 1, who would love to share your insight first? Carolyn.
Mine was, thank you. I help you, I made it generic, you who's listening, to break free of fear and to make it happen without actually fear. She was a go-getter so that you can live the life. Well, she hasn't finished, but I just saw this about two days ago. So, so that you can achieve the life of your dreams. I know what the ending is.
Wow. Give her a round of applause. Beautiful. And do we all see that it's not more than 20 words that she used for this, right? This is not about writing a poem. This is about creating clear guidance for where you're going with your audience. When we're going to step number 2 and we're picking the right stories, a question that you might have about your own keynote is, Lori, now I have like these 100 stories that I downloaded. Thank you so much for all that ideas. But now I have more confusion because now I need to pick through more stories. So which one am I going to take? Right? And one of the lenses that we're going to use is, does this actually help you achieve the aim? Kristin went through a lot in her life. But what we went through is, Kristin, what are the pivotal moments where you had to break free and make it happen so that you use those stories to drive home that point for your audience? Right? So that's why the aim is so incredibly clear. Anyone else from team number 1 who wants to share something? Maybe a now and the new. Patrice, you were first.
Can you say what you just said? I don't know if you're gonna remember. it was very good, and I was trying to write it down.
What I said?
Yeah, you said she went through a lot, but she picks just the story.
Yeah, so when you pick the stories, like the first thing is the aim, then we want to pick the stories. She went through a lot. Like when she really sits down and downloads all her stories, she might get to 1,000 plus. But we don't want all those stories to be in your keynote. So now how do you make the decisions to go from stories to keynote? One of the lenses we look through is, will this story actually help you achieve the aim so the audience gets through a transformation? Another lens that we look through, and this is a bridge for in a bit for when we go to chapter number 2, the stories, is we want to make sure that there is stories from community, from credibility, and from coolness. Right, so now we have multiple ways to pick our stories. Does that answer your question, Patrice?
Yeah, thank you.
Naomi, you wanted to share something about team number 1.
Yeah, so with the now and the new, like I really loved how she shared her story about waking up every day, having to get on the bus. I feel like a lot of us can relate to that, like going through the daily motions, like working paycheck to paycheck, even though she was in Hollywood and she had this, she had like really great high-end celebrity clients, she was still like going through the motions of having to wake up every day and grind through the hours that she used the word brutal. So I feel like that's really relatable to a lot of people. So she's meeting the audience where they are.
Yeah, beautiful. So she's describing the busyness and the mundaneness of life, 16 per day. I had to go at some point. She said like the specific highway, like it became like a parking space. So she's creating visuals where people understand busyness. So that's beautiful, beautifully noticed. Anyone else from team number 1 who would love to add anything to this, or did we kind of cover it all right now? Mari?
Yeah, so if we talk about aim, the real big arch for me was, okay, I'm in LA and I was just going, if it's Gold Gym in Vienna that she mentioned, and then she meets this angel and she ends on the cliff note that she's going to New York. So there was, I'm in the beginner stage, I'm working really hard, and there's a miracle that happened, and boom, now you're there. So from here to there, that was the aim for me.
Super good. Nice. And it's fun, right? That Carolyn has her way of describing it through the framework, right? And that Mari, your brain works a bit more visually, right? That the blueprint that you have is a tool, not the outcome, right? So it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Team number 2. Anyone here around the stories? Debbie.
Sorry.
There you go.
I discovered about 5 stories.
Okay. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the first one was I used to work 16 clients a day. And then once upon a time, that's the second story, I went to the Gold Gym. And there, this is the Mecca, and it's in Venice. And they know, and there she met somebody, a trainer, I don't remember the name, but he taught her, third story, the difference between a strength training and a power fitting. And then he suggested to her, what if you could be paid for doing power fitting, showing it to others how it works? And she thought, why not? I like a challenge. Why not do that? So she does it. And then next story, within 6 months, she's able to, why not to, how do you do that? Is able, yeah, it's 6 pounds overhead more than before. So it was quite impressive. So then he suggests, well, you're so good at it, why not help other people? And then a miracle happens, magic happens. This man comes along, Mr. Bob, who has an injury in his knee, and she helps him. And then last story, he is so happy with her that he invites her to come to New York and help what's it? I can't say the word. Rehabiliteren. Hoe zeg rehab? You know what I mean. So she just takes the leap and she just do it. And why not? What do I have to lose? I
Yeah.
think it's a fantastic story. I
So
can.
cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever played like the I think it's called the telephone or something? I don't know exactly, where you're sitting in a row and then one person starts with the story and then whispers is in one
Oh yeah,
person.
yeah.
Then
No.
we would always play this on dinners with my grandparents, and my grandfather was always the annoying cheater. He would always completely change it up. So we were
Oh,
always,
yeah.
we wanted him at the beginning. But do we see that when we paint it in pictures, it's way easier to remember?
Yep.
Right? There were a lot of factual information, and you were able to connect it to pictures so that you're able to reproduce it.
Yeah.
And what I hear you say very specifically is there's these different scenes, right? There's different moments in time. Now, for some of you who really like the data and the understanding behind it, right? There can be, I don't want to overcomplicate this, so if it's overcomplicating, just close your ears. But for I know that some people in this room really like the specificity of things. There's a difference between a scene and a story. Right? So when we go to your story library, Debbie, you will have 5 stories. When I go to mine, I might have just 2, because I kind of clustered some scenes into one story. For example, gym.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe I included that whole conversation of increasing with lifting and things into one story. Does that mean that my 2 stories are better than your 5 stories? No.
Mm.
No, it does not. The outcome that we have is that our story library helps us remember specific moments in our time, and that we use those specific moments in time to make a point for someone else, right? Can we all understand how that works? Right? That it's not about like, oh, is this the perfect story? Is this what? It's about you helping yourself. What helps me is not have so many stories that are kind of the same, because now I get confused, but that's my personality. I rather have bigger differentiators so it's easy for me to remember what I mean with that. If that works for you though, Debbie, it's perfect. So just want to say that as well as education for all of us.
Yeah,
Well,
when I
well
when I when I when she start talking about the 16 pounds, I really saw Popeye for me. I thought, my God, that you must be strong. Oh my God, that you can do that. I was really impressed. Whew. Yeah.
that's fun that you create pictures because someone else is speaking. Well done. Super. Now, one of the challenging themes, the glue it all together. The glue it all together, Nilsa.
Okay. In the opening, she starts with full circle hiding in the back, and she talks about the stage with a red dress epiphany. That's the opening. She goes into her life 3:45 in the morning, but then
Yep.
for me, she glues it with I set foot in the Gold Gym, California, where transformation happens.
Yep.
Nice. I want to say lekker. That's Dutch for epic. Super nice. Super nice. Because now what you're doing, Nilsa, is you're understanding what sentences she uses to start a new chapter. And what you notice is she kind of just starts full force, right? So she just says in the beginning something like this. Can you repeat one more time,
Yeah,
Nilsa?
she said full circle, hiding in the back, behind the stage, and then she has an epiphany with the red dress. But she's always hiding in the back.
Yeah. So and the fun part, and you can rewatch this because it's back in all of your for you in the course, is the absolute first thing she says, and this is a very big invitation to all of you, is she said to me how she wants to be introduced. That opportunity is an opportunity that you all have not just in the graduation, but in every stage that you're going to go on. You're able to share with them how you want to be introduced. So what she did is she said, after I introduced her as a speaker on the graduation, this is a really full circle for us, because when I met you for the first time, this is what happened. Well, now I'm here. So she knew that the context of the stage was with me, so now she opened connection with me. So her opening was very tailored to this specific moment, and she didn't just share. She already created a transition between what I was sharing to what she was going to share. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
She was very intentional. And then she started with bum, what you said, Nilsa. So she just started with the sentence, right? Beautiful. Beautiful observation. Anything else, Nilsa?
Okay, yes. And then she goes from the gym, right? She's in the California where you transform your body. She now goes into, I meet this rough and kind gentleman where I start lifting. I prove that I can lift 165 pounds overhead. So she makes a distinction between strength training and powerlifting.
Mhm.
And then she closes it with, it's remarkable how I can lift 15 pounds over the 165. So we're talking about 180 pounds of powerlifting. And then that took her to meet Bob to break. I mean, she's okay, from lifting 180 pounds, the power strength, that takes her to a client named Bob.
Yeah, beautiful.
So there's a whole story there with New York now. And
yeah, and we're gonna notice what is going to happen because we stopped on a cliffhanger before I'm gonna start the video again. And this is from team number 2, but I want to hear it from everybody through the chat. What different C's did you recognize in everything you've already listened to? Please put it in the chat. What different C's did you notice until now? Oh my God, Charlene is getting ready. Not on video, but she's fast on the keyboard, you guys. Pay attention. Credibility and coolness. Beautiful. Any other voters? What do we got? Community, coolness, community. Do I see all 3 of them? What? All C's. Okay, quickly unmute yourself. We do this popcorn style. It can become chaotic, but that is not a problem. What are all the credibility pieces that you've heard her say? Say it out loud.
Working with celebrities in Hollywood.
Okay, what else?
Lifting heavy weights.
Yes, what
Lifting.
else?
Helping
she's a
Bob.
cop.
Well,
Helping with the
Helping
knee.
Bob. Healing Bob.
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so we have a lot of different things that we now learn from her. Lifting really big weights. If someone is persistent enough to do this for 6 months obsessively, can we believe that she is credible in other pieces of her life? And I'm gonna tell you, what she does now has nothing to do with sports, but we feel the credibility in her soul. Second, she works with A-listers. What does that tell us? Okay, she's working with high-level people. Now that says something about her as well. So our perceived value of her increases just by the people she's working on. So for all these humble people in front of me, share what you're good at. I was able to meet Mari in person again as well, and you know that she won 8 Oscars. Or Emmys, sorry. 8
Yeah.
Emmys. And there's a difference, I got educated by,
Yeah.
that there's a difference between being selected and winning. She won.
Yeah.
She won, right? So do we want to hear that in her keynote with a raise of hands? Right? Of course we do, right? Because it shows the credibility. Now, what things did we notice from Kristin that was very cool? Shout it out.
This is cool.
Being
Uh,
able to
She's a broke college student, but she wants to break free, and she's transitioning to a higher, that she's creating her path.
So
So I thought that was
your
cool.
path. So the vision that she has is already super cool. I agree. What else?
She has a super cool personality. I mean, you want to hang with her.
You
You want
feel
to hang with her.
you want to hang with her. Great. So maybe it's not just the stories, it's actually who you are. Fascinating. Okay, what else?
For me, Kristin showed up and helped Bob to rehab. For me, that was like, wow.
Okay, so she's this helping spirit who wants someone to rehab. What else?
She's adventurous.
Adventurous. Why?
She'll try anything just about. She'll go for it.
She traveled from one side to the other side of the country.
She decided to move to New York. Yeah,
There you
adventure.
go. So
That
do
was
we
a
see
bit.
that coolness is not like the definition of coolness is what's unique about someone, and how you are all perceiving her to be cool is very different, and that is perfect. So do we see that you want to add some stuff about your specific life so other people can feel your coolness, your uniqueness, your credibility? Last one, community. What do we hear?
She's concerned about her 15, she has a list of clients and for over 15 years, and now she has to abandon them. So
Yeah.
that shows community.
It shows community. It also shows the community she's hanging with. A list of people for 15 years. A-list celebrities. Okay, that's a community. What all other communities did we hear?
Bob.
Ja,
Bob. We're so curious about Bob now, aren't we?
ja, ja, die heeft geld te veel.
So we
Her
have Bob,
coach,
coach, sports
her
coach.
coach.
Right? The reason why we want to share community is people trust people are just like them. When you share people you are hanging out with and your audience is hanging out with, it creates rapport. It creates connection. If you go to the gym and you work with a fitness instructor, you might feel more connected now with Kristin than without her saying that. With her sharing A-list celebrities, some people might live in Hollywood, been to Hollywood, have friends that are actors, look up to people who do these kind of things, right? Now you're creating more pictures in people's minds where other people can feel a connection towards. All right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to now watch the second part of this clip, and I'm really curious what our analysis will be at the end. Ready? Let's go.
What do you have to lose if you take the leap when an opportunity shows up? So I took it. Excited to step foot in New York City. Finally, now I don't have to be stuck in my car. The freedom to be able to walk anywhere I wanted at any time I wanted was just exhilarating. This freedom that I never experienced before. So I think about that same freedom of stepping onto that stage and walking into that confidence, having the courage to do that. And everything was clicking on all cylinders. Business was great. I was in New York City. I can walk down Broadway and look at all of these beautiful shows and go to any restaurant I wanted, whenever I wanted. In fact, I even got an opportunity to become a Lululemon ambassador. This was incredible. I'm brand new to New York City. And it was in 2008 that this all occurred. Then something extremely pivotal occurred. The moment that I realized I needed to share my stories with Bob, I was so excited to share with him all of the things that had taken place prior to me getting to New York City. So I went over to his apartment. I had the key to his apartment because he had brought me on to his team for emergency purposes. And the minute I went up to the 26th floor on that elevator, something hit me. When I stepped off the elevator, I realized, is his apartment to the right or is it to the left? And for this split second, I was unsure. But then my intuition said to me, no, you got to take a left. Walk all the way down to the hall and take the left. And as I entered his apartment, there was this eerie sense of a presence there, but nobody was home. I proceeded to walk to the right side of his apartment, where I remembered he said that he had had a flood, because I picked up on this very odd smell. It was not a smell of roses, let me tell you. It was not a smell of fresh cooking. It was a smell that represented a moment in time where Bob stopped. As I proceeded to the left side of the apartment, I found Bob on the floor, not able to move. His head was slightly underneath the bed. His lamp on his bedside had fallen. And at that moment, I realized he had had a stroke. He was alive, but unable to move. He was unable to break free and get out of his apartment to get help. So at that moment, I had to pull logic and calm and confidence into the scenario to do what was best for Bob. So I proceeded to put him in an ambulance and escort him to the hospital. And 2 weeks later, he passed away. It was at that moment I was faced with 3 decisions. I had one of 3 options to make. I could either freeze like that little girl that I was back about 14 years old, about to get on my balance beam at a gymnastics state meet. And my coach couldn't find me. They found me actually in the hallway, curled up like a snowball, shivering like a little leaf about to fall on to the cold ground. Or I had the opportunity to go back to Los Angeles and be stuck on that 405 parking lot with that sea of red lights ahead of me where everybody's going really fast, but actually going nowhere. Or I could rely on my skill set. I could rely on the creativity. I could rely on the courage. I could rely on the confidence of everything that had led up to that moment and step out of my 700 square foot apartment in New York City to make it happen. What was I going to do in that moment to make it happen? I had no money. I had no clients. I had no family nearby. Nobody. It was just me. I had to make it happen. So what does this mean for you? What might you be stuck at that you feel helpless, fearful, frustrated? You don't know which way to go. Is it that job that you don't really like? You know that you're sitting behind the cubicle and you really don't know what to do? Is it that date that you know that you need to go on, but you're sitting in your apartment, hiding in your pajamas, afraid to get out there? Or do you step out just like I did to be seen and to get out of my comfort zone, to have the courage to walk my dog and take the gym outside, to try to encourage new clientele because I had no business, I had no money. But I knew I needed to show up for someone else. So I brought my music, I brought my dancing, I brought my dog, and I brought my weights, knowing that every single building on Riverside Boulevard in New York City had at least 300 people in it. So in my mind, 300 people times 10 buildings, this is a lot of potential clientele. So I took that opportunity and I made it happen. And 10 months later, although losing Bob, it was the best thing that ever happened because it pushed me out of fear. It pushed me out of the comfort zone. It pushed me into a place that I never knew existed. So today, I invite you to break out of that fear. Step out of the ordinary. Go from where you are now and break free to make it happen, to become the new you, the 2.0 version of you. Go from ordinary to extraordinary. Go from fearful to fearless. Today is the day, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. Don't wait. Step out, break free, make it happen, because the only thing that's standing in between now you and new you is the belief in yourself. Let's go on this journey together with courage, confidence, and creativity to make it happen. Today's your day.
Ik voel er niks aan.
Whoop, 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 whoop. All right.
She
Let's
got delivery.
She delivered.
She got
Who
delivery.
really enjoyed this keynote? Who did not? No one? All right. So there's different viewpoints on how you do this and different arts of the medal, right? Different ways on how your personality and your stories really create something that you're able to share. What I'm super stoked for all of you is watch your TEDx once it gets live, because that way you will also see like how one keynote is probably creating like a total different one with absolute no stories that she used here, but both times she really crushed it. And you'll see how this all develops and how this goes into the new version, and every single time this becomes better. So let's see how she created this one from the perspective of team number one. Who would love to share first? Adrian.
So what is the question again, Lori?
You were in team one, correct?
Yes.
So what did you observe seeing also the second part of this talk?
The second part of the talk, I really got lost in the story. I
too.
stopped taking notes, but I did, like, at the end, I felt she really, like, I started taking notes again, because she really was, I was focused on the now and the new. So, it was really from like the ordinary to the extraordinary, from being fearful to fearless. So she really made it very black and white, how to make it happen. She also used a lot of repetitive language. I noticed, like, the breaking free, make it happen, and yeah, so I caught that. I was thinking about the 3 teaching points, and I was just thinking about them, and I was trying to think what they are. So I'm curious if anyone else in group 1 got them.
Let's see. This is a good question, Adrian. Naomi?
Yeah, so I really appreciate it. Wait, I want to acknowledge your question first, Adrian.
It was about the
What
3
was
teaching points. Like, I was just gonna start to think about that, and I hadn't, like, nothing was super obvious to me. I guess I was thinking she's gonna be like, point number 1, blah, blah, blah. But it was, like I said, I got kind of lost in the story, and now need to kind of reflect on there were a lot of teaching points in there, for me personally, that I took away. But that was the
Yeah.
one part in section 1 that I have not completed.
Yeah, same. I have a lot of notes under teaching points, but I'm not sure exactly what they are per se, but a few things kind of stuck out to me in the second part, especially, and I think that's more associated with the new. I really love how she like brought the audience in to kind of visualize the transformation, and I love how she used of a couple times, I think, or maybe more than a couple times, she talked about trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, and how she like kind of set that up where she was like, she got into the hallway and she wasn't sure if she needed to go left or needed to go right, but she chose to trust her intuition. And that was super powerful for me. I really loved how she set that up. And she also kind of set it up a little bit with having the choices where she was a little girl and she froze, um, like when she was supposed to do the balance beam or something like that. And that's where she kind of talked about when she was in the position to like really trust herself, like is she going to step out of where she was at and choose to stay instead of going back, and I really related with that because there is no going back. Like once you take off the lens and you get to really experience the freedom, which she talked about freedom in New York, not being stuck in a car for hours on the interstate and, be having the freedom to eat wherever she wanted to have. And, it all just happened because she had the courage to step out, trust her intuition and live her dreams. So I really like how she kind of visualized that transformation for the audience. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have a million
Beautiful.
notes. I don't know.
This is so fun, isn't it? And what I want to share, Carol, you first. What is your
Thank you. Thank you. This is really a new skill set. It's really interesting, and I'm finding it fascinating. But it's a new skill. It's a little wonky. But I thought her teaching was. I took the leap. I had to make it happen. Choose to step into resiliency.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well done, Carolyn. And I saw Mari, you also unmuted yourself. Was there anything you wanted to add from lens number one?
Could you repeat the question just in case? I want to be sure.
What was your observations of lens number one, the aim, based on also the second part that you now watched?
Okay. So she did a great transition from LA to New York City. And it was about taking steps every time. I'm in New York, I do this, I do that. That was, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to sift through it. And
Yeah.
I've made a lot of notes.
And yet you
But
say something really, really powerful, Mari, that we're going to focus on a bit. Debbie, you first, and then
go
I'm
ahead.
going to share kind of like the conclusion of lens number one. Go for it,
I
Debbie.
thought the way she told it, you saw this big contrast. So she goes up wide, New York, New York, and then something happened, Bob, in the end dies, and you can feel like, oh, what now, what now? And I think it's so strong that she's able at that moment, okay, wait a minute. At that point in my life, I froze. Okay, another thing, I can go back to LA. And then she decided, no, 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 no. I'm not going back. I'm gonna do this. And then you see her going up. I love that. The contrast. It makes it on me, it makes an impact on me, like, oh yes, you're so strong. Yes, right. Wow, wow. Yeah. I love that.
Yes, everything that you're saying is perfect. And I'm going to share kind of like my juice over it and connect everything that you said. When we're looking at the now and the new, the outcome is not that you fill in this form perfectly. What I'm hearing Mari say is she connected a place to the now and a place to the new. So LA is kind of like the embodiment of the now, right? So now this place becomes part of the picture and New York becomes part of the new. What I'm hearing Debbie say is the contrast really made me lean in. What you want to create in your talk is contrast. There's nothing as boring as I was with my grandma, we had to cross the street. We looked left, we looked left, we walked, that's it. It's like there's no contrast. It's all on the same line. So we want to create contrast. Well done. What I'm also hearing a lot of notes from the 3 points, a lot of focus on the 3 points. Carolyn sharing her 3 points. Now, if I would like really put pressure on all of you and head and you have to make a decision on what those 3 are, then what's probably going to happen is you're all going to choose a different one. Now, the outcome of the 3 points is that you're helping your audience kind of like segment information. When we're listening to, let's say, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, it's like a lot of new data. What we want to help the audience is easily remember. So these 3 points are not per se for you to be like, okay, so the 3 action steps that I need to take are these. What Kristin created 3s in is I had 3 choices, 3 opportunities. I can either freeze, and then she shared a story to emphasize that point. We remembered about her being 14 years old and being a ballerina, right? She has this main story, which is basically from LA to New York. Let's say that as one main through line. And then she has sub-stories to anchor in the community, the coolness, the credibility. We see, right? Gymnastic competition is like specific, cool, community, different group, credibility, being champion there again. So now she's anchoring in all these little sub nuances with one tiny story, anchoring one of the 3 points. 1, freeze. 2, go back to the now. Go back to LA. Go back to the parking spot. Or number 3, break free and make it happen, which is her brand name, her through line, her everything. That's where Adrian, repetitive language, right? So her 3s were not per se 3 teaching points, but it were 3 very specific steps. Now, if you really want to, this is like additional. If you go to the community replays, who knows where to find the community replays? I hope everybody. Perfect. And you scroll all the way down. There is a title with something around 3s. All the way in the beginning, I've done a training on just on the 3s, where you're gonna experience that there are different relationship with 3s. It can be one step leads to the next, that leads to the next. It can be there's 3 decisions. There's more, they're equal, right? They're 1, 2, and 3. So there's different kind of 3s that you can pick. I didn't want to share that in the course because then it becomes more information and you just need to do 3, right? But if you want to help yourself and understand like what kinds of 3s do I want, the outcome that we're looking for is you create clarity for your audience, you segment the information so they have some sort of structure to remember your talk by. Does that make sense? So the beauty that was not that easy to figure out can be not a good sign, right? Because you want to make very sure that your audience it's really easy for your audience to remember. It can also be a really good sign, right? Where it's more like integrated and the point just gets across, the outcome, the aim gets like checked off, and how you just feel like magical. It's like, I don't know how she done it, but when you look at it from a structure, you can understand it now. So that's going to be your art. All right.
Yep.
So let's go to the stories. What did we understood on the story framework, Patrice?
For the stories, yeah, I got a lot of them, but the main ones, from the first part, I'm gonna skip those. Okay. So meeting Bob, that was back in California. Before now, she moves to New York, which is another story. Then Bob's death, it's a pivotal moment. I think she will have another story on that. The gymnastic competition, or the little girl gymnastic competition, that was a sub story that was very well put to anchor the point she was trying to make. And then I have another one to either take a risk, I would call it, where she finally unfreeze and say, hey, I have nothing else to lose, right? She take a speaker and then she head down the street, and where there has a lot of buildings, and so she take the risk over there. And from there, she broke, the rest is break free, make it happen, where she asks different questions to anchor the idea into the audience, Is it a date? Is it the next job? Is what is in your mind that you're actually scared of doing? So I'll put all of those in, break free and make it happen.
I like it, right? So now there is this, and again, I cannot emphasize this enough. The story library is for you to use, right? So Patrice, if you would be Kristin and you would call this break free, make it happen, and you know what you mean, that's the point. That's the point. When I would be Kristin and my through line is break free, make it happen, what's probably gonna happen is she has more stories with that through line. So, and again, this might be technical, but I want to emphasize how important it is just for you, right? What I would probably do is I would break free, make it happen. I would create a tag. So when I'm talking about break free, make it happen, all my own stories about break free, make it happen come up. And then I would probably call this story 10 buildings, 3,000 clients. And that would help me remember this specific story. And then the through line is break free, make it happen. Does it make sense? Beautiful. Then the last part, Nilsa. How did she do it all together?
Okay, so when she says Bob invites me to New York, I'm taking the leap, she glues it with what do you have to lose when the opportunity shows up? That's how that's how she glued that. And then she's talking about her freedom. She's exuberant. She's going to be a Lululemon ambassador. And then she goes into, then something extremely pivotal happened. So she's gluing all that excitement with that. She glues it with that sentence. And then she shares the story of what she finds in Bob's apartment. And then the third one is when she says, I have 3 decisions to make. Or Bob's already in the hospital. I have 3 decisions to make. And she says, number 1, or I freeze. Number 2, I go back to what's familiar to me. And number 3, I create. And then she comes up with what she does with her weights and stuff. And then at the end, to close the opening and the full circle, she's closing it with her title, Break Free. I don't know, her title is Breaking Free or Making It Happen. She's telling us, the audience, today is the day. We don't know what comes tomorrow. It's now in the new year, and you have to believe in yourself. So today is your day. And she closes it with that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So now we see how she's creating the now, LA, to the new. And then in the news, she has this moment where Debbie, you said, like, she's creating the contrast of, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Well, it is. Because there's 3 decisions to make. In order for you to break free, make it happen, we need to go for number 3, create. Who's up for actually creating, right? That's kind of like, in a nutshell, like what her whole story is about. Now, when I ask her, Kristin, you have 1,000 stories in your story library. You have 100 stories in your story library. You have 10 stories in your story library. Do you think that she's able to make break free, make it happen point? But she will change every single story that she was sharing. But she will use different stories of her life. Yet the emotional roller coaster will stay the same. Do you think that would be possible? That could be possible? Nod your head. Either, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, and that is the skill that we're learning here. You're understanding how to create a name, how to pick the right stories, because they help you create the aim. They help you create the 3 C's, and then you glue it all together. When we go back into the ladder and we say we keep the aim, we're just going to shift the stories. And we're going to glue that together. That is the skill that you're now rehearsing. Now, from your start in 8 weeks, you're creating your now best talk. So based on what you've wrote down from listening to those speakers, what your next step will be is think about it for yourself. What will be the aim for you? What will be the stories for you? How are you going to glue this together, right?
Yeah.
That is your process, your intentional action step. Now, who is speaking in 2 weeks from now? Something like, no, it's not going to be me. Right? We have Naomi, we've got Patrice. For everybody who's we have if I'm not mistaken, I have the list here. Let me double check. We have Charlene, we have Mari, we have Naomi, we have Anmol, we have Patrice, and we have Carolyn, right? All of you will share your keynote in 2 weeks from now. So for all of you, you have access to my one-on-one. I know some of you already planned it. If not, make sure you do, right? You got the invitation through your calendar. Make sure that you create a video before, so I'm able to watch it, just as Carolyn did. She took 20 repetitions and she crushed it. That was her win for today. So with that said, if you're almost getting on stage, make sure you plan that moment. No matter where you are, make sure that you integrate everything you've learned today and you went through for someone else, that you apply that for yourself. All right? And then last but not least, create a video. Create a video and share it in our Academy group, answering these 3 questions that you, of course, have never heard before. This is the ever first time sharing these 3 questions. The first one would be, what is an aha moment or a breakthrough that you had in these last 90 minutes? This is not about us looking at Kristin. This is about you getting to your next level and using an example so it starts to live for you. So number 1, what was your biggest aha moment or breakthrough? Number 2, what is an action step that you are committed to that you will do before we see each other next, whether that be next Monday in our bonus call that again is accessible for all of you, or Tuesday in the workshop. Number 2, what are you going to do? Number 3, one of the most important ones, who
Grateful.
are you grateful for? Nice one, Debbie. Who are you grateful for? He's on. He's on. Who are you grateful for? Who are you grateful for? Who in this group are you grateful for today? Public speaking still is the #1 fear of humankind. So I saw some of you like, am I in 2 weeks? Oh shit, I am in 2 weeks. She called me up. Oh my God, panic attack. And maybe you feel a lot of things, but just know that you're ready. You're ready now. And Nilsa, maybe Nilsa, you can share a little bit about your experience next week, one week before we go up. Nilsa is going to through the Public Speaking Academy for the 5th time. She's the current record holder, right? She's like, I'm not going to stop until I feel completely ready. And last time she forgot her notes and she didn't panic. And that was a major milestone for Nilsa, and everybody's on their own path. So whatever you feel, just know that you're perfect for where you are. Nilsa, remember next time to share a little bit about how you've experienced it and how you can best prepare based on what you all went through. And then next week we're gonna have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful last week before you're going live. All right? If there's any questions in the meantime, know where to find us in the WhatsApp group. Me and Luke are there for us. Is Luke crushing it or what? Like sending you the links, being there for you, checking out the process. So reach out to us. We're here for you. Do it in our group, right? If there's any questions, because when someone has a question, other people have that question. So do it in a group, not to us personally. And then we're gonna see each other next week. Love to see your video. And if there's any questions in the meantime, we got you. All right? Ciao, ciao.